Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're diving into Phase 6 of the project lifecycle, solution evaluation. Now, we've gathered the requirements, we've designed it, we've written the code, and we've actually built the product. But now we're standing at the finish line, staring down that ultimate nail-biting question every single team faces. Does this thing actually work? And when I ask if it works, well, it kind of brings to mind that classic developer meme. You know the one? When the system doesn't work, the developer stares at the screen totally stumped, asking why? But when it does work, they stare just as hard, asking, wait, why? It's hilarious, right? But honestly, it's also a little terrifying. Because when a system works or fails and nobody knows why, that's a massive risk. We literally cannot rely on luck. And that perfectly sets the stage for why structured, objective testing is absolutely critical. We need to know exactly why something passes or fails. Okay, let's dive into Section 1, Anatomy of a Test. So our whole testing worldview basically splits into two distinct camps. On one side, we've got technical test cases. These evaluate the system against our design best practices, our internal frameworks, and our coding standards. It's basically asking, did we build the solution right? It's all about the mechanics. But on the flip side, we have business test cases. These measure the solution against the documented business requirements. The design requirements documents, the signed agreements. Here, the question shifts completely to, did we build the right solution for the business? Because let's be real, you can have a technically flawless piece of software that completely misses the mark on solving the customer's actual problem. A good test case bridges that exact gap. So, how do we guarantee our tests are actually doing their job? Well, we use the CUT framework. To make sure a test case is solid, it has to check a few specific boxes. First, it must be clear and traceable, straight back to a business objective. It needs a unique ID so we can track it. It's got to be complete and structured, meaning you've got defined preconditions, specific data inputs, the whole shebang. And this next one is huge. It absolutely must be binary and measurable, pass or fail. No gray areas. It has to be reproducible by literally anyone, and it should be written in simple business language. Sticking to these elements means our test cases have purely objective criteria, taking personal opinions totally out of the equation. To put that into perspective, let's look at a real-world comparison. A bad test case looks a little something like this. Look at the dashboard and pick a region. Expected result, sales are shown. See, that is untraceable, it's super vague, and there are zero clear pass-fail criteria. That's an opinion, not a test. Now compare that to a good test case. TC15, verify net revenue updates for country filter. Boom. It gives us a precondition, right? The dashboard is loaded with the default view. It gives us exact steps, applying a specific filter for France. And the expected result? The net revenue matches the exact output of a specific SQL query. It's traceable, it uses precise data, and it is entirely objective. Moving on to Section 2, let's look at the testing hierarchy. I want you to think of this as an escalating ladder of complexity for our internal testing. We start down at level 1 with component testing. That's looking at the smallest individual pieces of code or functionality. Then level 2, component integration, seeing how those tiny pieces talk to each other. Level 3 is system testing, where we evaluate the entire application as a whole unit. Level 4 scales it up even more to system integration testing, making sure our app plays nicely with other external systems. And finally, level 5 is acceptance testing. We use this brisk step-by-step progression to catch the tiny bugs early, way before they snowball into massive system failures down the line. Now, you might be wondering, where exactly does the business analyst fit into this deeply technical process? Well, the BA's input is essentially the vital glue holding it all together. They provide the business context to the technical team, the actual why behind the code. They clarify the business logic so developers can write accurate tests. They support those system integration discussions, specify non-functional requirements, and, this is absolutely crucial, they define realistic test data. Without the BA stepping in, developers are basically just testing in a vacuum. All right, Section 3, BA testing and UAT. Let's get real users into the mix. Which actually brings me to one of my absolute favorite jokes. Okay, so a QA engineer walks into a bar, orders a beer, orders 0 beers, orders 99 billion beers, orders a lizard, orders -1 beers, orders a bunch of random gibberish. The QA engineer has successfully tested every logical and illogical technical extreme. Then, the first real customer walks in and asks where the bathroom is. The bar immediately bursts into flames, killing everyone. Honestly, I love this because it just perfectly encapsulates why end-user testing is non-negotiable. Real customers will always bypass your carefully planned logic, do something entirely off the wall, and metaphorically set the bar on fire. So to prevent those exact fires, we rely on two distinct phases right after the technical testing wraps up. First is BA testing, which is internal facing. The BA creates testing scenarios covering all the possible paths, the happy path, the alternate path, and definitely the sad path, and reviews them. Then comes UAT, or user acceptance testing, and this one is customer facing. This is where the BA actually leads the sessions with the real end users. The BA is acting as the bridge here, ensuring all those scenarios are fully validated internally before a customer ever even touches the product. As those UAT sessions start to wrap up, we hit the final hurdles. This is the critical administrative layer. We need three-way matching to ensure that the business needs, the test cases, and the final results all align perfectly. We have to thoroughly document all our test results and keep track of any open items or unresolved bugs. And finally, we need that formal sign-off, that literal stamp of approval that allows us to pass through the gates and officially go live. Everything has to be perfectly aligned right here. Next up, Section 4, Beyond Functional Testing. So here is the real kicker, the crucial question we have to ask ourselves. Okay, it works, but does it work well? This is the true separator between an amateur patched-together product and a robust professional solution. And to answer this, we have to look through a completely different testing lens. And this is exactly where non-functional testing comes into play. We're really looking at 5 core pillars here. First, performance. How well does it operate under load? Like, if 20 people open a dashboard simultaneously, is it going to crash? Then, usability. Is the solution intuitive? Are the buttons in logical places? Or is the user constantly hunting for them? Security is huge. How are we protecting the data? Are we properly masking personally identifiable information? Next is scalability. Can this solution handle future growth and new requirements? And finally, reliability. Can the system run continuously without throwing errors left and right? These non-functional elements are honestly what make a user actually want to use the solution. All right, let's bring it all together in Section 5, Evaluation in Action. I want you to imagine this scenario. You've just seriously impressed the Nova Distribution Company. They're a massive worldwide distributor of edible goods, and they've contacted you to design their huge new sales performance dashboard. But there's a catch. You aren't actually available during the initial requirements gathering phase, so you're inheriting a design requirements document created by a previous business analyst. Your job is to step in right now, look at that document, and generate the testing scenarios to ensure this dashboard actually delivers exactly what Nova needs. So, I'm going to leave you with this provocative challenge. Based on everything we've just covered about objective, clear, and traceable testing, can you design the perfect test cases for the Nova dashboard, stating only what to expect without relying on a single calculation or number? Think about the CUT framework. Think about the business rules, the filters, the user experience. How do you prove it works simply and irrefutably? That, my friends, is the true art of solution evaluation. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and good luck with the challenge.